Is that because inspiration can pretty much strike you at any time, and you need to contribute to this mythical, almost legendary riff vault that I have heard about?
Yes, that, and I suck really bad at guitar, so I have to practice as much as I possibly can.
But, well, first of all, that's bullshit. I gotta. So I'm here today. I'm talking with. We just started going. This is Sammy. This isn't live. I'll edit it and stuff later. But so we're lucky to be talking with Sammy from Goatwhore today. And it's funny because I actually I remember hearing you for the first time, and we're talking mid '90s. I was very into kind of the sludge sound, and so for me, Acid Bath
Yeah.
was great. And so I go way back with you, and you are just, in my opinion, you say you need to practice all the time, but you generate riffs that are incredible. So I just want to start by thanking you for doing that.
Well, I appreciate that. But you never know when they're going to pop up. I've had times where I was like dozing off in bed, just like laying down, relaxing, my day's over, nodding out, your eyes are shutting down, and then you hear something in your head, and it's like, oh, fuck, I got to fucking run to the fucking room and grab a guitar and fucking flesh this out.
That's very cool. How long do some of those sessions last? I mean, sometimes is it like 5 minutes, and then other times suddenly you turn around and an hour's gone by, kind of thing?
Yes. Normally when I'm working on like a single riff, it's get in, and 9 times out of 10 the initial idea will be where I want it to be.
Right.
But then other times I'll be like, I'll listen to it, and then I'll be like, yeah, it needs something. So then, as you say, an hour goes by, then you have a riff,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it all depends on where the riff's going or where the riff wants to go. I don't really. How can I say this? I don't put any restrictions on it. If it wants to go wild, let it go wild. If it wants to stay simple, if it's 2 notes, 3 notes, then so be it. If it's going to be 15 notes, then so be it.
Absolutely.
It all depends on what the vibe is, what the riffs is calling for.
Do you find at all that that process is also influenced maybe by who you share it with at that time, the feedback you get maybe from Ben, say, or like the way the lyrics go, and you're like, I want to add something here? Does the riff change that way too sometimes, or does it? Go ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll not 90% of the time it stays concrete. You know what I'm saying? Because what I'll do is I'll just I'll generate a whole song. Because we all, me and Ben and Zach, our drummer, well, Zach used to live in Arizona. Now he's living here, which makes things a lot easier. So we had Ben and I here. Then Zach was living in Arizona. Then either of our bass players at the time, TA's living in Austin right now. And at the time, our other guy before TA with James Harvey, he was living in like Florida. So I would just get entire songs just completed that I felt were pretty close to being finished, without the lyrics, of course.
Right.
And I would just make a recording of it and send it to everybody. And then, the process from there is, well, that part's too long. I want to put lyrics over this part, so extend that part longer. Or, switch this part around, put this part in place of that part, instead of like, being that we were so separated at the time, sitting there and looking at each other goes, well, what next? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So how are you finding that process, getting ready for the interview, right? You go back through somebody's catalog, and it's like every 3 years, maybe 2, boom, there's a release with Goatwhore, right?
Yeah.
So are you still on that schedule about it? There would be a new album coming out sometime if we stuck to that schedule. I'm wondering if there is, and if that process you're talking about, right, being all together in the same space is influencing the writing process.
Yeah, the new album is pretty close to being written. Let's just put it that way. But, right now we are, I'm gonna be honest with you on this.
Yeah, sure.
You know, the last album I was really happy with.
Yeah.
And the couple before that, there were just a couple of songs that were like, man, if I had another month, this song would be amazing because I got to change this and change that and blah, 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 blah. They were kind of rushed due to like,
Yeah.
well, if you don't get out the album by this point in time, you're going to miss this tour. And this is a really good tour for you guys. And, you know, this is
the business side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on this record, you know, I made a promise to myself and to all the other guys. It's like, look, I don't give a shit. There's only two reasons why I'm going to fucking rush this album. Is if Black Sabbath calls us to tour with them or if Judas Priest calls us to tour with them. Other than that, the album is going to be done when I feel it's going to be fucking done. And everything else can be put on hold until then.
And so the label, I assume, Metal Blade, is it still going to be on Metal Blade or?
Yes. But this was.
So you've got real creative control then on this. That's great.
Metal Blade is fantastic to us. Awesome. I cannot say a bad thing about Metal Blade. This was more like, you know, it was more like an internal kind of thing, you know, to where it was like we're so focused on touring, you know. That's what we are. We're a touring band.
I call you road warriors, man. You're always, it's crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what we do. You know, that's, you know, studio band. We're an okay studio band. We're a fantastic live band.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You know, the only reason that we put out an album so people could come to the shows and be familiar with the songs we're playing. You know, I mean, it's kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's the way I look at it. But, you know, I mean, it was kind of us putting the pressure on ourselves to hurry up and put those albums out and do these tours.
Right.
Where, you know, this one, I'm not really looking at that, and I really don't have a choice at this point, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So actually this whole, you know, isolation thing going on actually worked out in our advantage because we started taking a break from doing shows right before all this fucking coronavirus baloney hit, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And so it actually worked out to our advantage. But before that, you know, we have a pretty big chunk of the album finished, like written.
Sweet.
So this is just a matter of writing more songs and possibly improving the songs that we already have written.
Absolutely. You talked about the importance of how the studio album in a way is just a platform for a live experience, and that's where the band is at its peak. Are you going to go with Jared again in terms of production? Because I know that was one of the things on Vengeful Ascension you really went for, was how to capture the live sound in a record. So I'm just interested in production kind of standpoint.
We really haven't made that decision completely yet. You know, we're just kind of, we're not really focusing on that. We'll focus on that when we're like, okay, the songs are done.
Fair enough.
Let's fucking start talking about where we want to go with this. Who do
Absolutely.
what kind of sound do we want to go for on this record? You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, Jared's name definitely came up. Kirk Ballew's name came up. Eric Rudin's name came up again. You know, so there's a couple of other names that's escaping me right now. So you never know where we might go with this, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I'll put a plug in for Tad Doyle up in Seattle. He's the fucking man. His studio is incredible.
I'll listen to some of his stuff for sure.
I'll send you a link of some of his stuff.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
We want to go for a really bombastic sound on this one. You know, we don't want to go for like this pristine, clean, clear. We wanted this record to, when you put it on, to like just sound like the speakers on your stereo are blowing up. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. He's a master of that sound. But
yeah, I think that's where we need to go with this band. You know, I mean,
yeah.
You know, instead of having this nice, pristine, clean thing, you know, I mean, it's great. I'm not taking anything away what people have done for us in the past as far as production wise. You know, I think just on this one, we just need to go just mean as far as the sound of the album, you know?
Absolutely. It for better or worse, it makes a difference. You know, I was actually talking about of all albums, you mentioned The Priest. I was talking with Ken from Abigail Williams yesterday, and we talked about Defenders of the Faith.
Yeah.
And some of the production stuff that was going on then, and just, you know, production makes a difference in the way that the listener kind of takes in the album.
Absolutely. So, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to circle back to the whole COVID situation. I mean, I'm just interested, like, how it seemed like for you, it was lucky in the sense that you already had a chunk of time planned out where you weren't going to be on the road.
Absolutely. Yes.
So if anything, this may be working somehow to your advantage relative to working on these riffs. But I'm just wondering, are you in New Orleans proper or kind of around there, and what it's like right now for you guys just as humans existing in this weird time?
Yeah, I'm like right by the river in the city.
Okay.
So, I mean, I really haven't ventured. I don't really go out much when I'm home anyway. So it's not really affecting me, to be honest with you. You know, when I'm home and I'm not on the road, I don't really go out, so to speak. And so I'll go out and I'll go to a restaurant like once a week and get something to eat, possibly anything. But I mean, it's not like a big priority for me. The thing that I miss the most, I guess, is just the fact knowing that you can't go out and, you know, say one of my friends are playing down the street. That I can't go to a bar and watch them play or hang out with my friends. And, you know, it's a whole, you know, camaraderie kind of thing is kind of not existent anymore for a while.
Yeah, I hear you. Up here in the Seattle area, you know, I get used to seeing my metal crew like once, twice, 3 times a week, just seeing them at a small club, a bigger arena. And it's like, hey, how you doing? And now it's like, where the fuck is everyone? You know,
right, exactly.
It's out there. We're all trying to hang on to our sanity, right? Getting through this I know for me, I've been using music as a way to get through, but I'm wondering if there's like a show that now that you've got lock-in going on, is there a show or a movie or a book or a band that you've been kind of just really getting into just because of this situation? Absolutely.
A lot of guitar playing.
That's great. I cannot wait now to hear this album. I think it's gonna. I mean, a lot of people that I've talked to have said that they're just devoting this time really to working on what they can, and that's the instruments or the lyrics if you're a vocalist. So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to do. You know, you might as well just take advantage of the time while you got it to actually do nothing. You know.
Yeah. Tell me, what is this? Sammy Sundays. I probably should know what the hell this is, but I know that I'm kind of bumping up against it. It's starting in less than an hour or something your time. So just tell me what that is. Yeah.
The live stream. Oh, it's just I stepped into the world of social media about a month and a half ago, and I never had Facebook or anything. The last social media outlet that I had was MySpace a very long time ago.
Right.
So I never had a Facebook or anything like that. And I was seeing all these guys they were showing off their guitar collections on Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't have Instagram, so it would be like, it'd let you look at the guitars for like 5 minutes. It'd be like, log into Instagram if you want to come here. So I was like, you know what? I got a pretty cool guitar collection. So I'm just going to start an Instagram and not really make it a big thing or anything. Just like show off guitars and bullshit like that.
Very cool.
And it kind of rolled into this whole thing where I'm doing like a live web stream and stuff every Sunday and stuff. Yeah. And it's cool, you know. I mean, I'm starting last weekend I had the drummer Zach from Goatwhore on there just as an experiment. Then tonight I'm gonna have the bass player TA from Goatwhore, the bass player. He's gonna be on there tonight, and you know, it's cool. You know, it's a lot of fans asking a lot of questions. You know, you know,
absolutely, that's fantastic.
You know, some kid wants to hear me play an Acid Bath riff, I'll play it. You know, and just talk about stories and stuff like that. People ask about, you know, a lot of kids have been asking about like fucking when Dimebag was alive. You know, when I was in Crowbar. Kirk and Dime were really close. So we would always, every time we play like Dallas, Dime would always be out there causing fucking chaos with Kirk, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of the stories that I could share with that whole stuff, that's a completely different interview right there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, what you're doing though is actually in some ways kind of enticing us into watching the Sammy Sundays, because it sounds like it would be a really good
I'm
show.
gonna catch you and I'm gonna reel you in, and I'm not gonna let you go. You're gonna tune in every Sunday to see what's gonna happen next.
You're a fucking pro. So here's, let me just do like one more question, and then I know I only have that 15 minutes, so that's
no worries, man.
okay. So I'm interested, and if you don't want to answer it, it's fine. But I know in getting ready for some of the interviews, I noticed the importance of Satanism and as an influence. But it seems like it's also foundational maybe to the way that you view the world, perhaps. And I'm just interested if you feel comfortable speaking about that. And if not, I understand. It's weird. It's coming on an Easter Sunday, so it's a strange question. But I'm just interested because for me personally, it's very inspirational. And I'm just wondering where you draw inspiration. You know, for me, it's the idea of that cosmic, almost metaphysical rebel that's, you know, pushing boundaries and challenging authority.
Absolutely. You nailed it on the head. You know, as far as like worshiping the devil.
Right.
I haven't really been involved in that aspect of the whole thing of actually practicing those sort of things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you completely. Yeah.
You know, I just kind of, it comes and goes. It comes in waves. There's some parts, there's some times in my life, you know, where I'll be so heavily into it, and then life happens and I can't really devote the time that I'd like to. You know, I still firmly believe in my Lord and Master Satan, but, you know, as far as me, you know, adoring him at the altar and such, you know, life happens sometimes. That sometimes you know, I'm fully immersed in the whole spirituality of it. And there's times that are just like, you know, it's there, but I just can't devote the time that I would like to it. You know, it's
like any inspiration. When you view it that way, you know, it's like, I know for you the band Venom is crucial, but you don't need to listen to Venom constantly to still have it be an influence.
Well, I mean, you know, the first 3 Venom albums are pretty much embedded in my DNA at this point. So it's a kind of a part of me, you know.
Yeah, and I'm wondering in some ways if that is analogous to the way you were talking about Satanism, that you don't need to be doing it. It's always a part of.
It's always in the back of my mind, you know.
Exactly.
Even though I'm not doing certain things to show my appreciation for it, you know.
Absolutely.
But, you know, as far as Satanism goes, you know, I mean, I'm not really as heavily into like the Levian Satanism as I was at one point. That was almost like a gateway for me where I was really into that. Then I saw all these other things that are of interest, you know, that, you know, if you actually want to see something materialize, not necessarily Satan himself, but his good friends. But that's a completely different story. We'll talk about this on another time.
Perfect. Last question. What's the thing when all of this, what's the thing that you're just most looking forward to when all this bullshit dies down?
Play this motherfucker on stage.
And that's what I want to see, is I want to see Goatwhore again live.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's the thing that I'm looking forward the most, is to go out and just do a live show and let the demons fly, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much for taking some time to shoot the shit with me. I will send you a link when this is up. I want to encourage people. I know I'm personally going to tune into Sammy Sundays starting today. At what time is it? 666, I believe.
Central? Yeah, 666, 706 for you Christians.
All right. So listen, be safe, and I'll see you live on the other side of this bullshit.
All right. Thank you for your time, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Adios.
Bye.